So I have been a personal trainer for probably over 14 or so years. And over that time, I have heard big amount of excuses. So I've had probably every excuse you could think of, I've heard it as to why you can't exercise, why you couldn't do something, any of those things. Now, I'm not bagging out these excuses. We are not having a go at anybody for making an excuse, but I want to bring to your attention some of the excuses today that I've heard over the years, and I'm sure you may have probably used some of these excuses before, and do you know what? I even use those excuses. The thing is, but I want you to understand maybe where that's coming from, and for us to start to identify, like, why are we always making these excuses? Because these excuses are the things that are keeping you stuck. They are keeping you in the same position that you are in. And if you look back on to where you were this time last year, have you got any further towards anything that you wanted to achieve? So have you got any further, or are you in exactly the same spot, telling yourself the same excuses as to why you can't get there? And I know a few people that are in that position, and I'm hoping, really bring it to your attention about how and we can be responsible for your own actions, and we can look at these excuses and we can catch ourselves and pull ourselves out of it so that we don't just keep telling ourselves the same story. Now, I catch myself more often now doing it, but I was like in a loop of where I was telling myself lots of excuses as to why I couldn't get to where I wanted to be, and it's all about thinking about our brain, going back to how our brains are wired. So probably my first real realization was that I kept telling myself I was really, really busy. So I was telling myself I was too busy to be able to launch like a new project. I was too busy to do that, but it was something I really, really wanted to do. But I realized what I was doing is I was keeping myself busy, and I was giving myself that excuse of being busy, and that I didn't have enough time. I was giving myself that excuse because it meant that I didn't have to actually launch it. Because if I did launch it and it didn't work, then what would that have meant about me? And I didn't realize I was doing this, but I didn't want to do that, I guess, and maybe it fail, and maybe it not be successful like I thought it would. So I caught myself doing that, and then I was like, I think I was thinking about it, and and I realized, I was like, you're saying you're busy all the time, but you've watched a whole season of some episode of some show on Netflix, and I was like, that's 20 hours or something. So you've had 20 hours to do that, but you haven't had the time. You're saying you're too busy. So that's what I caught myself doing, and that's what I realized that I was trying to keep myself safe. Now, the thing that I want to remind everybody is this is not a time for you to have a go at yourself or any of those things. It's a time to recognize that this is what you're doing, and it's okay. It's human nature, and we are wired, our brains are wired to keep us safe, okay? And what is safe to our brain is what is familiar. And what is familiar isn't necessarily the best thing for us. It is just what our brain knows. So if you are somebody that is, you always tend to maybe go towards the negative, if you tend to always go that way, then your brain is going to think that's normal. So when we're trying to be more positive, you will probably, let's say you're always negative, you're trying to be more positive, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lean towards the more negative side, but you can rewire your brain. It just takes time. But the first step in anything is recognition. So at the moment, my son is highly anxious. My son always tends to lead to the side of worry. So he tends to worry. So we have, I have a little saying with him to say, thank you, brain, thank you, brain, for that thought, but I'm okay, So that's what he'll say to himself when he starts worrying about things that are out of his control. At the moment, he's worrying about his sister, and we keep saying to him it's not his responsibility. But, so I'll say to him, what are we going to do? We're going to thank our brain. So we say, thank you, brain. This is not my responsibility. I don't, she's safe. I don't need to worry about this. So your brain can be rewired to think differently. So if you are somebody you've been making lots of excuses, but maybe you've been making this just like me, making these excuses and you didn't even realize you were doing them. And that's exactly what I was doing. It was like such an aha moment because these excuses were keeping me safe. It was like I was comfortable with why I couldn't do it. I was like, yeah, I am too busy. I'm not going to add any more onto my plate. But I actually had the time. I was keeping myself busy, floundering around, doing things that probably could have been done in half of the time, and I've made big changes since then. But the first change that I needed to make was recognizing that that's what I was doing. So what we want to start to do is to think about, are you making excuses for why you're not reaching your health and wellness goal? And, I hear these things from people, and I used to always question that, like I would ask psychologists and, is it that they can't achieve it, or is it that they just, but the truth is, when you believe in yourself, you can do anything. And I'm sure you've heard me say this morning, you think, yeah, whatever, Renee, I've tried and I just don't. But you've got to dig deeper. And you've got to do the work, and you have to dig deeper and really work out what is going on down there. What is really going on underneath the surface. Because if you don't truly believe in yourself, if you don't truly believe you're going to achieve it, then you're not going to get there, because as soon as you hit a road bump, then you're going to be like, yep, see, told you it wasn't going to work. But we've got to really start to understand what we're thinking. And that's what I want you to when you hear yourself make an excuse for something, I want you to start to question why. This is probably one of the biggest learnings that I've had over the last couple of years. I really started to question myself why. Another learning I had, another excuse I'd made, was I wanted to go out and have more time with my girlfriends. But I kept saying that I couldn't leave the kids. Now I could leave the kids. They were fine. My husband was home, all of those things. But I was making excuses that I couldn't do it, that I couldn't go out, because I actually, deep down, actually didn't want to leave them. And that was a problem that I had. And I had to realize what I was doing. So one time my friend had asked us to go out for lunch, and I said, oh no, I can't go. Charlie was younger then, and I was like, no, I can't go, I can't leave. I can't leave Charlie, with Lee, and I totally could. But I was telling myself this excuse, and she's like, oh, can you not? And I was like, no, I can't leave him with her. And then I thought about it after, and I was like, what am I doing? Because Lee could look after her. So I started to recognise that I was making this excuse and it wasn't true. And then I started asking myself why, So I started asking myself why, and I started to dig a bit deeper. And, it's sometimes just being with your thoughts and working it out. And I had to dig deeper as to why I was making that excuse. And when I dug a bit deeper, I'd worked out that, I just didn't feel safe. I didn't feel comfortable to leave my kids to have them out of my sight. And that's an issue that I have. That's something that I have dealt with. But I didn't feel safe to leave them out of my sight, even though they were safe. And when I spoke to my husband about it, he said, "Oh, are you finally going to trust me and leave me with your kids? And leave me without kids, sorry." And I did. I went out for the lunch and whatever else. But that was a really big turning point, because I realised I was making all these excuses as to why I couldn't do things. But in the end, I was actually unhappy. I was unhappy because I wasn't having that social side. And it was all because that I had this anxiety, this stress about leaving my kids, and that if I wasn't with them, something would happen to them. And that was something that I've created, that, So that was some of my learnings. And then from that, I've been able to recognize now a lot more when I'm making those excuses. I'm able to pick up on them. I'm able to pick up on them and go, "Oh, what am I doing this for? Why am I saying this?" Because the excuse of saying I couldn't go out because I had to watch the kids. My husband was there to watch the kids. He could have. And when I spoke to him about it, so I recognised what we're doing, he said, "Oh, are you finally going to trust me?" So it was actually something that had caused a wedge between us two, because we didn't go out just us two, and I wouldn't leave him with the kids. So it was a real eye-opener for me that I realised that I was doing this, and it was not only affecting me, it was affecting my husband, and it was also affecting my kids. So it was a really big thing. So what is your excuse? What is the excuses and the stories that you're telling yourself in your head? Because what we want to do is we want to get to the bottom of it. We want to get to the bottom of it. We want to start the new year with a clear head, with a fresh mindset, and you want to start recognizing if you were doing these things. This is not something that you're going to go snap and it just changes, because you will hear this, and then you will start recognizing more when you are doing these things. It's exactly what happened to me. I now recognize it. I think about it. I try to work out what's going on, and then I can take different action. And it's so good. It's so good once you start to realize this. So I'm going to go through some kind of 10 or so common excuses that I have heard over the years, and how we can fight back on them. All right, firstly, before we go into 10 of these excuses, we're going to look at the theory of cause and effect. So there is the concept of cause and effect. It suggests that for any causes, there is a specific effect or result that occurs. So those who choose to live in the effect side of things, they are generally telling you that life is happening to them. So they might tend to complain a lot about how unfortunate they are, or how people do things to them and it's not their fault. They feel like they don't have control over any situations. Everything obviously isn't their fault. Everything's happened to them. This was out of my control. I couldn't do this. They have kind of no control over things or people. They might tend to blame their co-workers, their family, global warming, the economy, everything else it's everyone else's fault. And then those who tend to live in the cause side of the equation, they act as if they're responsible for all the outcomes in their lives. And these people, they tend to take responsibility for the results that they get in their life. And if something isn't going the way that they want to, then they can take action to change the outcome. So some examples of people that live in the cause side could be people like Oprah Winfrey, Anthony Robbins, Richard Branson, Nelson Mandela, and they are people that tend to live in the cause side of the equation. Each of these people, they choose a path which they're responsible, which means that they're responsible for their actions. But they'll take a path, and this person will choose this path of it's everyone else's fault, where the person in the effect, the person in the cause, will take the path where they're saying that everything they have responsibility for. When people tend to not succeed in something, they'll justify themselves as to why they didn't make it. And again, this is what I'm saying. This is human nature, and I've done this to myself. We all do this. But I want you to start questioning why and asking, why do you think this? What are you doing? And really dig deep and be honest with yourself. When you can start to be honest with yourself, that's when your results are going to happen. So, I set out to lose 5 kilos and it didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? Oh, it didn't happen because my kids were sick. But if we're really honest, are your kids putting food in your mouth? No. So take responsibility and start to think about where you are responsible for things and how you can change that. Okay, we justify as to reasons as to why we didn't achieve things. And it's really important to start to recognize, are we making excuses, or is this actually the truth as to what's going on? So that can be a hard thing to determine. But I think when you're looking at something, so let's lose the original goal of wanting to lose 5 kilos. We had set, we'd set this goal out to lose 5 kilos, and we'd set a goal of 10 weeks to do so. It got to the end of 10 weeks and nothing had changed. So, and we had this array of excuses as to why we didn't choose it. Our kids were sick. This happened at my work. Got really busy. So is this excuses, or is this actually reasons why you didn't lose the 5 kilos? So I want you to think about, are there reasons why we didn't do it? Or are they just excuses? Well, those circumstances, they are more likely excuses. Like I said before, your kids are unforeseen. They may be sick, but there are options that you can do that are going to keep supporting your goal. Yes, your work may be busy and it may be stressful, but again, there is options in there that you have that you can still have working towards your goal. And what I feel is we're making these, building these reasons up, and we keep telling ourselves this story. Oh, I can't do this because this with my kids, or I can't, we're giving ourselves these reasons as to why we can't, and it's stopping you from even starting. It's making it okay, you're justifying it to yourself as to why you can't start. Now, these excuses that we're going to determine about if it's an excuse or a reason, and we're going to want to start to do something about it. So what you're going to do, if you're going to look back as to what your original goal was. So what was your original goal? So the original goal, the example that we're talking about here, was about losing 5 kilos. So back to that original goal, we are then going to, we are going to need to break it down into actionable steps. And what are the things? And this is something that we do as part of our programs, is what are those actionable steps that you need to be taking to get you towards your goal. And when we do a program, we sit and we work this out with you. So when you sit down and we work out these actionable steps, then I check in with you. Do you think you can do this? Does this suit with your lifestyle? We work them out because we're getting to these excuses or your roadblocks before you start. And, when we've got to take these steps, and let's say on your way to losing your 5 kilos would be to walk every morning for 30 minutes, to track your food, to eat a certain amount of calories per day, to make sure we're getting 8 hours of sleep, and to have one fun activity a week. So that's your 4 action steps. Very generalized, I know, 4 quick action steps to getting your goal. Now, you haven't done 2 of them. So instead of giving you that step closer to your goal, it's taking you a step further back, away from your goal. And that's things that's in your control that you can take charge of. It's working out why. So why we've got these action steps that are very achievable. They are things that, that you can do. We've talked about it, we've worked out that can fit in with your life. I want you to ask yourself why. Why did you not get up early to walk? Again, what's the excuses you're telling yourself? Are you telling yourself, I'm too tired, I had a late night with the kids? But instead of getting you towards that step closer towards your goal, you're taking that step backwards. So what are these excuses helping you? No, it's getting you further away from that goal. In order to achieve your weight loss goal, we have to make changes. And it's those changes that people, once you start to make them, they'll become your lifelong habits, and you'll go, I'm so glad I did this. You just have to start and get over the hump of doing it. I've had people that, that they, lots of mums, they, struggle to feel like they can exercise because they have children. So they feel like, I don't have enough time, I can't do it around my kids, but there's always a way. For here I have classes that are child friendly. I just had a mum in this morning that because her husband works away, but she chooses to get in a sitter so she can come work it on her own. There is always a way. It's just you need to break it down and work out what are the excuses that you're telling yourself and why are you telling yourself these excuses. Most of the time, a lot of the time, it's all about keeping you safe. And keeping you safe and keeping you from not attempting that thing, or of the fear of failing, of the fear of it not working. That's a lot of the time what the excuses that I hear. We've got these feelings of our brain wants to keep us safe, and what is familiar is safe. So being uncomfortable, being in discomfort is not being safe. But safe isn't necessarily the best thing for you at times. So when we are giving ourselves these excuses as to why we can't do things, we are going to question why are we doing this, and what are the excuses that we are telling ourselves. Now, here are some of the common excuses that I've heard over the years. I'll start tomorrow is one, or Monday, or maybe next week. Or I've got this event on, I'll wait till the event and then I'll start then after this birthday party. The thing is, there will always be something that comes in your way. Tomorrow will never come. There will always be a hurdle, there will always be a struggle, there will always be something to stop you from starting. The thing to remember that tomorrow will never come. The thing is, just start now. Start now and just start achieving. And when you can work out how you can achieve what you set out to do around the hurdles, is how you'll be able to sustain it forever. And trust me, you will do it. You can do it. You will do it. It's the thing is that when we make a mistake, which is a lot of times what people's biggest fear is, when we make a mistake, the mistakes are meant to happen. They are going to happen. They're inevitable. The thing that we need to learn is how quickly do you get back up? How quickly do you get back up and keep moving forward? Because every time I make a mistake, I cheer, because I know that's getting me a step closer. That's getting me a step closer to where I want to go. A second excuse is I'm too hungry. People feel like they can't do a diet, even though I hate that word. They can't do that because they're always hungry. The thing is that if maybe what you have done in the past has always been too restrictive. I believe in counting your macros. When you count your macros, it's giving you a balance between the protein, fats, and carbs. And when you are eating that nice balanced meal, you actually realize that that you are full. Most people that I come across are under eating the protein, and they're not getting that right balance of nutrients. And you know that when you're saying you're too hungry, you get too hungry and that's why you can't do it. I'd like to question how you've done it before in the past, and maybe what you've done in the past. The way that I was always brought up, or I remember hearing, I was very lucky not to, I didn't really hear my mum dieting a lot growing up, but the things you did hear was always eating less and to low fat calories, and you know it's really not the way. So I question, when we're saying I'm too hungry, are you actually doing it right? Because when you're getting that balance, you should. But are we saying that you always get too hungry because you don't want to try? Because we don't want to starve, that fear of failing, or being uncomfortable, being in that discomfort. Is that the fear that, you know? And another excuse you might hear is that one bite won't hurt. So yes, one bite often won't hurt, but generally one bite often turns into two, and then a full serving, and then maybe an extra, then feeling guilty, then feeling like you've stuffed up or you've done wrong on your plan, you haven't done the right thing. So instead of that one bite, it turns into a whole day or a whole week or a whole weekend, and then it sets you on that trail to say, well, then I'll start again on Monday. You know, so that one bite actually, you know, leads to a lot more other things. So that one bite that you feel might not hurt actually, you know, leads you to eating an extra 1,000 calories. You know, I also really believe in that whatever the first meal that you eat for the day, that's the food that you will crave for the rest of the day. So if we're having this one bite of something, you know, you might then be setting off different cravings for the day. Another excuse I hear often is, I deserve a break. So we will tell ourselves that we deserve a break, and that's why we should have those extra glasses of wine, or, you know. But I want you to question, I'm not telling you not to drink wine. I think that that any diet or any plan needs to have a balance of the foods and the things that you enjoy. But I want to ask you that when we feel like we deserve a break and that we should have that extra wine or so, what's the knockoff effect of that? And is that still supporting your goal? And of course, you deserve a break after hard days at work or having a stressful day managing the kids. But your break that you get, instead of leaning towards food, which tends to be people's comfort, what about channeling it somewhere else, channeling it to a nice walk on the beach, going for a massage, doing some exercise, doing a meditation, watching a movie. So yes, you deserve a break, but you can channel it in another way. Instead of eating high calorie food or beverage that is only going to make you feel better for a few seconds. And again, it's then that knockoff effect of what happens for that. So let's use a couple of glasses of wine. So a couple of glasses of wine, one glass might lead to two, which then might lead to a bottle. Then that leads to us not sleeping very well, which has a knockoff effect. It also leads to you maybe being more concerned or more concentrated around the wine instead of maybe spending time with your kids. Or, and then the next day, what's the knockoff effect from that? So feeling like you deserve a break, of course you deserve a break. Of course you deserve some time for yourself. But let's see if you can channel it a different way. Trust me, you will feel better for it. The next excuse I hear often is, well, I've already blown it for today. So I've already blown it for today. It doesn't matter. I hear this one a lot now, and it is a mindset thing. Yeah, you've already blown it for today. Now, I want you to look at the bigger picture. One meal out of, if we eat 3 meals a week, it's 21 meals. 1 out of 21 is nothing. 1 out of, 42, 2 weeks is nothing. It is one out of nothing. But what I see often is people go, well, I've already blown it. So they turn that one meal into a weekend. Or they turn that one meal into, well, I've already broken my plan. I've stuffed it up. I'll wait until next Monday. If that's a Tuesday, then it's however many meals from Tuesday to the next Monday. So it's just one meal. So you haven't already blown it for today. It's just one thing. It is never too soon to get back on track and keep working towards your goal. And it's really important to always remind yourself of what it is that you actually want to achieve. Another one I hear people saying is healthy food is too expensive. So they say that it's too expensive to eat healthy, but it doesn't need to be. I don't think healthy food is too expensive at all. When you are making stuff from scratch, when you are buying stuff in bulk, it can actually be cheaper for you. I have a really good way that I manage our food, and I know there's rising food costs and all of those other things, but I feel like I can do our food really well on a budget. And it is, I'll go and buy veggies and then in bulk, I'll freeze stuff. I buy all that stuff. I make everything from scratch. So I'm not buying store-bought sauces or, any of those things. I make everything like that from scratch. And I actually find it cheaper. I find it cheaper than, pre-made, or pre-cut salads or any of those things. I actually find it cheaper. So I would, if this is the excuse that you were saying, I would really question that. I don't have time to cook. So another excuse, I don't have time to cook. So there is always ways and shortcuts that you can to have healthy meals that are aligning with your goals, that you don't have to spend hours cooking. If you enjoy cooking, then that's fine. But it doesn't take very long to prepare things. Prepare things that are healthy, aligned with your goal. I've even got it down to only a few minutes. You can cook meals and make stuff in bulk and freeze it and then just defrost it. And I always cook things up in bulk, so I'm happy to eat the same thing every day. So I'm happy to eat the same thing for lunch every day. So I'm only cooking once. I'm only cooking once and eating that same thing every day. Next excuse would be diets don't work for me. The truth is that diets really don't work for anybody. You are restricting your food, it's not something that, diets is not something that you can live with for a long term. The thing that will work for you is making lifestyle changes. So I always ask everybody, whenever we join a program, wherever you have a goal set out, is this something that you can stick to forever? If you can't stick to it forever, you're not going to do it. Understanding that when we make these lifestyle changes, the weight loss may be slower. But the reason it's slower is because it will stay off and you're sticking to it for your life. If you think about anything you've done in the past, if you've done anything that has been too restrictive, you may have lost weight. You may have initially lost weight, but the thing is that you put the weight back on. And that's what I see happens all the time. So we need to learn how to understand our food. We get rid of the thought, of diets. Get rid of that word, get rid of diets, and just make lifestyle changes that suit you. And these small changes all add up to your big result. I have 3 more excuses. So it is too hard to eat healthy with kids around. Now this, I hear this one a lot and it confuses me because, how can it be hard? I don't understand. I understand that It can be hard if you have junk food around your house, but your kids, you have brought them up. So they didn't know what food was until you showed them. So you've showed them the things, and you're now blaming them for the food that you've given them. And the thing is that you can, who buys the shopping? The kids don't go buy the food. Oh, your kids won't eat the things. Well, they will change with you eventually. I promise you. These are just excuses. These are things I had my kids through the years had, Cooper used to only eat plain pasta, and he wouldn't eat a sauce or anything with it. And then, and then now he eats, bolognese, he eats this, that. So, these are things that you can create. The other, I guess, side point of this is when people say with the kids that they don't want to cook separate meals. I get it. You don't want to cook separate meals, but how much do you want your goal? I cook separate meals. It doesn't bother me because I know that the meal that I'm eating is going to align with what I want to do and the goal that I want to achieve and how I want to feel. If that means I need to take that bit of extra time, then do it. You're too busy. You don't have enough time to cook separate meals. Find another way, because there is ways. Now, I'm a very busy person. I run my business, I run my household, my kids do lots of activities after school. I have lots of things going on, and I can manage it. And you can manage it too, but I manage it because it's important to me. So when we're telling ourselves that it's too hard to eat healthy with kids around, it's remembering that you are the one you're the one that showed them to the food. They don't know. You're the one that does the shopping, or your partner does the shopping. And, if you've got that excuse, well, my partner does all this shopping, we'll speak to them about it. Again, they're not shoving it down your mouth. Make that choice to not eat that food because it's not aligning with your goal. It's not aligning with what you want to be. And it's getting down to how important is this to me? How important is this to me? And if it's really important, if it's that important to you, you'll be able to stick to it because we're reminding ourselves of why we want to do this. So our last two is, let's say our friend is eating this and she's skinny, so I can eat it too. Now, skinny is not necessarily healthy, okay? And we don't want to compare. You're comparing apples and oranges. We are all different. So what one person is doing, what they look like, you don't know anything other than that. You don't know what they've done before. You don't know they could have underlying health conditions. It is just, you don't know how much they exercise, where their stress levels are at. You just cannot compare. It's just not even worth it. It's too many different factors. So don't look, just concentrate on you. Concentrate on you and no one else. You know what you're doing. Stay in your lane. Keep moving forward and stay in your lane only. Just don't worry about what anyone else does. Just concentrate on you. Put your attention where it's needed. Your attention is needed on you, on getting your goal. Okay. The last one that I hear a lot, I don't have time to log my food. Now, this is what I hear a lot. Now, I really encourage everybody to start understanding and learning their macros. So when you learn your macros, it's the biggest learning bit about your food. It's the biggest learning curve that you'll take. Now, we don't want to log our food. Yes, it can take as little as less than 5 minutes a day. Now, if I told you it was 5 minutes a day and you would be able to lose those 5 kilos that we talked about at the start, would you do it? Of course you would. 5 minutes to get this end goal. Of course you would. And this is what logging the food does. Logging your food is giving us data and information about what you want to achieve. Logging our food lets you understand what where maybe things, where there's holes in your process. It gives us the reason. Now, once you start logging it, it can take hardly time. And when you log your food as well, before how an excuse was about not wanting to always feeling hungry. Well, when you log your food, when you've got that right balance, when you have this right balance of food, which has been scientifically proven, you will, and of what our body needs, you will not be hungry. You will not be hungry. And then you're going to have high energy, you're going to feel good about yourself because you're getting that right balance of food. So logging your food is a really important task. And when you get to, like I've said before, I had somebody that was in an 8-week challenge. She got to the halfway mark and her food hadn't changed. She wasn't logging her food because she felt that she knew everything that she was eating. Her weight had not changed. I asked her to log her food. She logged her food, and she was able to get her 8-week goal in 5 weeks. Somebody else that was eating healthy wasn't logging their food, and yes, they were eating healthy, but they were still eating 3,000 calories a day. So that wasn't aligning with her goals. So logging your food is giving you information about yourself. And when we have this information, when we can see, instead of guessing, we can see where there's holes, we can see what needs to be worked on. Now, we've all made one of these excuses, I guarantee. We all have, and there is nothing wrong with them. But what I want you to recognize is start to recognize, are you doing this? Are you making excuses? And if you notice that you are, question it. Why? Why? And it's keeping you safe, and the excuses are keeping you stuck. Okay? You're trying to keep yourself safe, but understand that safe, we need to be uncomfortable. We need to be uncomfortable. We need to step out of that box in order to make a change. And the change, as much as it's uncomfortable at first, you're going to feel even better, more amazing, and you're going to keep moving forward. So recognize when you're making these excuses. You're making these excuses because you're worried that you won't achieve your goal. Well, making excuses isn't going to get you to your goal either. Putting yourself out there and trying and failing, but getting yourself up and keep moving forward is going to get you where you want to be. And you know, the thing is that excuses, they're not helping. They are not helping, and they're keeping you stuck. And to be uncomfortable for a little bit of time, to then step to the other side, and there is a world of things, for you to take or to do because you've taken this first leap, and you've been that uncomfortable, and you've stopped listening to your excuses. I had a mum that, always said she couldn't exercise because of her kids. And, she was too busy with her kids, so she couldn't do it. And she finally started doing my group classes. She was doing them. And then she realized that all the excuses she was saying of why she couldn't do it, once she started doing it, she had more time with her kids. She had more time with her kids. She had more time she had more energy. She felt better about herself. She was calmer with her kids because she had exercised and done something for herself. I had another mum again who didn't want to prepare food. So she didn't want to prepare food because she didn't have time. She didn't want to spend the time away from her kids to prepare her food. But once she actually started doing it, she prepared her food, and she realised that by preparing her food, she actually had more time during the week with her children because the food was already made. So, these excuses are, have you tried it? Have you actually tried it, and do you know it's true? Because I guarantee you, it can be uncomfortable. It is going to be difficult. It may be difficult at first, but, the end result is what we are looking for, and how good are you going to feel when you achieve that goal. So as we are starting in the new year, as we're starting off fresh, I really want you to think about what are the excuses that you are telling yourself. How long have you been telling yourself? I obviously have focused on, food and excuses that we make with them. Or, if you had a weight loss goal. But, I caught myself making excuses about not going out, not being social. And, we all do it. So please don't use this as something to attack yourself or have another go or be down on yourself. it is normal. What we are going to do is we are going to recognize when we do it. We're going to ask ourselves why, and we're going to see what changes we can make. Remember, I'm always here for you. Please, if you feel like this would help anyone, please make sure you share this episode, because the more people that can hear this and we can stop making excuses, we can really set out and kick those goals up the butt for this year, and we can achieve everything that we desire. Okay, I'm going to love yous and leave yous, and I'll speak to you all soon.